Hey y'all, this is Tamika, the face behind Hey HR. So listen, this is the place for employees, employers, and job seekers. And today we're going to talk all about the difference between the hiring manager and human resources. So if you want to see the difference between the hiring manager and HR, please keep watching. So a lot of times I've noticed throughout my career that people get confused what is the difference between the human resources point of contact and their actual hiring manager. So I've even had someone one time that didn't like an offer that I extended to them, and their response was, well, I'll just reach out to the hiring manager. So we want to make sure that folks know the difference between the two, because a lot of times that could send out the wrong message to whoever you're speaking with. So if you're speaking with the hiring manager, you say, well, I'll just talk to HR. Like, if you have not received that job yet, it's very important just to keep a good, comfortable ground with both sides, because they actually work together and they perform different jobs in getting you on the team. So first, I'm going to start with human resources. Human resources receives all applications. So they don't just receive the ones that are qualified or the ones that are complete versus incomplete, or the ones that are just for this particular position. They receive all of them for the entire company. So they're the first person to do that first level of review. And with that first level of review, they're checking first to see if you're qualified. Obviously to see if the application is complete, but then to see if this position is one where you meet the qualifications for. So they are the folks that you want to catch their attention first. So it's a good and bad thing that they see all applications. So the good thing is that they have a good scope of what is a good application or what is an appealing resume versus one that completely isn't. So a lot of times human resources not only look for the qualifications, but when they look and see that you probably barely meet those qualifications, or you meet them in that catch-all of a combination of work and experience and education, then they're the ones that can push you further to the hiring manager by saying, but you can see how they've done this in their resume. They really can have transferable experiences that can fit well into this role. So it's good to definitely catch their attention. So HR also screens those applications. So after we've already seen, does this person, have they already completed the application? Okay, good. Next step, do they meet minimum qualifications? Good. Okay, now I'm going to screen them. Maybe they meet minimum qualifications, but I have a location problem. Like, do they live close enough to the office? Are they relocating? Maybe they have a family, and maybe I can bring that out of them because I'm not sure why they have this gap of employment. So maybe she has been at home as a stay-at-home mom and didn't put that on her resume or what have you. There are different things that we really screen for. Most times it's pertaining to the logistics of the job as well as minimum qualifications. So HR is definitely the one that screens every single application that needs that screening. Or maybe we just want to verify that you should go to next steps. So HR does the screening. So HR also prepares that job offer. Sometimes the hiring manager does it, but in most cases, HR does it. And the reason why HR does it is because they're not just trying to push out, hey, this is the job, this is the start date, this is the amount that we want to offer you to pay, but they also want to make sure that it has those legalities in it. So they want to make sure that you're aware that, yeah, you meet minimum qualifications, we've chosen you for this job, we've given you either a verbal or a written job offer, but you also have to meet maybe the physical requirement, maybe a knowledge test, maybe a drug screening, maybe a background screening. There are different pre-employment screenings that you have to complete before time. They also make sure that you know what day you're starting, where you're starting. There's something that in the state of South Carolina, where I am, we have a terms of employment form. So in most instances, HR will make sure that everything from that terms of employment form is included in that offer letter. So that's a big part of their job. Another thing is to make sure that in that offer letter, the amount that's offered to you, the benefits that's offered to you, the perks that's offered to you are all equitable with not only that position, but maybe your teammates, maybe the organization, maybe the industry. But it's just to make sure that you are in a place where it is fair for not just you, but also anyone else that may be kind of reviewed along with you. So in most cases, it's just your teammates. Like, are they getting paid? Is this a brand new person that's getting paid way more than someone that's gotten a 10-year tenure here? If they are their experiences where it should be? Maybe they meet the same experiences, just didn't do those in-house. So it's those type of things that HR does in that offer. So another part that HR does is they link that person with whatever other part of the organization they need to be linked with. So sometimes that can be a direct link or indirect link. So maybe HR is the person that gets you, get all of your information over to IT so that equipment can be sent to you or be prepared for you, so you can get that email address, that company email address. Maybe you're linked in with the admin assistant so you can get those business cards that you need. Or maybe it may be the admin assistant for your tag for the day. There are different reasons why your information may need to go out to other places. Maybe you need to be linked with training so that you can get prepared and everything can get set up for your on-board training. So HR does that link before time. HR also does that link when you come on board. So maybe you need to be linked with certain people on your onboarding through new hire orientation, through training, what have you, in person, virtual, whatever. That link is done by HR. So another example of something that I've noticed is that a lot of times there's some hiring managers that feel so confident about this candidate that they keep a very tight and consistent relationship with this candidate from offer. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. It really depends on the manager. Now, if that manager is prepared, like, okay, these pre-employment steps weren't committed or weren't completed or weren't successfully done, then we're going to have to end this relationship, and they're comfortable with doing that in a professional manner, or realizing that there may be some change within that relationship, then I think that's perfectly okay. But a lot of times when we have new managers who tend to give out information they're not confident about, or give out information that is not normally disclosed, or build a relationship way too close where it's difficult for them to break that relationship if the person doesn't come on the team, then I think those present bad situations. So I've always suggested, like, hey, just let HR handle everything. And I will tell you, it's best practices that HR keeps that relationship with the new hire before they come on board. So you always want to make sure that even if your manager is the person that's staying in contact with you, which isn't a bad idea, that you're also in contact with HR. Both of those people play a different role. So they both are bringing you on board in different ways. So it's very, very important that you acknowledge your relationships with your HR contact and that you keep those relationships. They're going to tell you how your screenings are going. They're going to tell you where to be. They're going to tell you what time to be there. They're going to tell you what benefits questions you may have. They can answer those. What other questions you may have. Most times they can answer those. And if they can't, they know the resources to link with to get those answers for you. But the hiring manager, 9 times out of 10, primarily can tell you literally about the job, your schedule after you finish whatever training you may need, if you need any. And they also can kind of manage you going forward. But please keep in mind that if you keep a relationship with that person and it doesn't work out, it's not their fault. So that is definitely a huge difference between HR and the hiring manager. So now I'm going to tell you about the difference with the hiring manager. So it's definitely a relationship or a person that will be your future supervisor, boss, manager, director, executive, what have you. But this will be your first point of contact in the chain of command. So that's the person that's probably going to sign off on your timesheets eventually. The person that's probably going to make yeses and nos to whatever expenses you may want, or whatever leniences you may want in your schedule, or whatever accommodations you may need with the actual job. But that will eventually be your direct report. Now, the hiring manager may have the ability to receive all applications, but in most times they go through only the qualified applicants. A lot of times hiring managers are managing a team. They are more skilled in a direct area field, and it's not HR. So they are not expected to spend a whole bunch of time focusing on a whole bunch of applications, especially if these people don't meet qualifications. I mean, the job of HR is to dwindle them down to someone that they can pick. So that leads us into the second difference with the hiring manager. HR goes through all of those applications, but the hiring manager chooses who's going to fill that role, who has went through the next step of the interviewing process or the onboarding process. So that's another difference of the hiring manager, is that they put you in line with next steps. Is that an interview? Is that an assessment? Is that briefly meeting someone? Is that meeting the team? Is that meeting my supervisor? Me as your manager, then I have a supervisor. You'll meet that person in an interview as well. The hiring manager does that too. So that is definitely a difference with HR, because HR will link you with whomever you need within the organization. But the hiring manager makes that determination based on the position that you'll fill, based on the duties that you're expected to do, who should help them make that decision on if you're the person that should receive the job offer. Now, another thing that the hiring manager does is that they do partner with HR to offer that salary amount. So you may have, a lot of times HR already has a pay scale, but within that pay scale, the hiring manager decides exactly how much you will get within that range. So the pay scale is just a range of your minimum, your medium, and your maximum. And most times that hiring manager picks within those numbers how much you get paid. When they take that back to HR verifies if you are qualified to meet that amount. If it's a fair amount based on everyone else in your team, your tenure, your experience compared to those people. And they also make sure that they add in any perks or benefits that may go into that. A lot of times managers aren't the ones that makes that decision, or sometimes they collab on that decision. So if you are entitled to any perks and there are different ranges or amounts that can be given to you or different ramifications, then a lot of times a hiring manager will partner with HR to figure out which is best. Now, there are some other folks involved. So let me make it clear that when an offer is extended, it's not always just the hiring manager and HR. HR almost acts as that point of contact with everyone else that needs to be involved with that. So maybe they already have a team of folks that select everyone's salary, right? Most times that is the finance department. So the finance department normally has what we call an FTE. Is this a position that we have allocated to pay for? So HR will also get with finance to see, well, are we right that this is the right range? If we put this person at a higher part of the range, are we looking at reevaluating this position in the future so that they don't cap out? So things like that. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes HR has that information up front. A lot of times they already know what the range is, how many positions are allocated for it, what is the highest and lowest we're willing to flex within those job offers, that type of thing. And it doesn't really need to go any further because they've already done that work ahead of time. Sometimes that work is done whenever someone gets an offer and rebuttals. Sometimes that work is done at the beginning of the year with budget time, and HR already knows that. So most times when it leaves past HR, it's because it's an extenuating circumstance. And so sometimes hiring managers just aren't aware of that because there are different things that can cause that to change as well. And sometimes the changes are things outside of that hiring manager's department, so they shouldn't be aware of those different salary changes or perks or benefits for other folks. So just keep in mind that HR and the hiring manager work together on that salary amount, but most times the hiring manager picks that initial offer. So y'all, this was a nice, short, and sweet one. I hope that I got all points out and that you guys were able to understand that there is a difference between HR and the hiring manager. The only time there isn't a difference is if the HR department is your hiring manager. So if you're coming on into the HR department in an HR capacity, that makes it a little bit different. Or if you're coming on into an executive position, sometimes that makes it a little bit different. But for the majority of folks that are out here being a job seeker or a future employee or a current one, that is the difference. And I will stress that that's the difference primarily from application to onboarding. After that, there's a whole different realm of differences between HR and your direct report. So I hope that you guys found some value in this video. If you did, definitely give me a thumbs up. If you aren't already subscribed, I ask you to please consider subscribing. And if you are a returning viewer, then I thank you so much for returning. Guys, I can't wait to see y'all on the next Hey HR video.